Hello guys, how are you? This is the build of the 172nd Fine Molds Imperial Japanese Army Type 3 fighter, or the Kawasaki Ki-61Y, also called Tony. This was one of the samples that Man Cave Models sent me on the box of that K1 that I previously done. It is a very cool kit. 172nd. It even brings just a bit of famous Daimler-Benz engine and some very cool details. And the paintwork on this is very original, and Fine Molds just took another approach to it. So I hope you enjoy this build. This was just a small build just to relax a bit, but the final approach to this paintwork, let's call it, is very original. And yep, this is the paintwork, all in a decal. Side, fuselage, wings, tail, everything in single decals. I've never done this before. These are big decals and very thin, so be aware and always maintain the surface soaking wet, your hands wet, and all the carrier paper, everything soaked on water. As I did previously on the K1, on this one I rescribed the panels, just deepened the panels just a little bit, because I don't like too deep panels, but just a little bit, and then proceeded with a puncture tool just to do a bit of riveting along the panels. I don't know if this will be seen, since all the paintwork is a big decal, and thus the decal may cover all the punctions, all the rivets, and probably won't be seen, but even so, I am trying to do that. The secret to do some paneling, to rescribe some panels and not to slip. If the panels are recessed, just start very, very slowly and don't push down. Just let the weight of the rescriber act on the line and then gradually go increasing your pressure, okay? And now some riveting along all wings and fuselage, up and down panels. I did this all with a puncture tool, all by hand, making sure that the distance between each rivet is correct, and went along. And if all of this looks tedious and boring work to you guys, it's because it is. And the cockpit will be a desert sand yellow, which is original for Japanese plain interior color. But it is desert yellow. And I first had to prime it with Mr. Surfacer 1000 on a 50-50 ratio of Mr. Surfacer and Mr. Color leveling thinner. And then using Bart Sharp airbrush 186 on a 15 to 20 psi's pressure, just primed all the pieces and interior, and then proceeded to apply some metal color. And then, because I wanted to weather the cockpit and to chip the cockpit and to split all that paint into old paint, I applied just some AK weather effects just to weather that paint on the interior, and then painted on top the desert yellow, and then proceeded with a wet brush to just remove that desert yellow color and let it be seen, the metal underneath. Again, I say this in every video, please, just because you see me with a pipette removing paint directly from the jar to the airbrush, don't be naive and thinking that I am using it directly from the jar. What happens is, this is an old desert sand Tamiya paint jar, and I filled it with 50% of lacquer thinner or Mr. Color leveling thinner. And after I just mix it all up like you saw, I can apply it directly, but don't be naive again thinking that I am doing that with the original bottle, because that will cloth your airbrush, okay? And this kit didn't brought any decal for seat belts or any photo edge seat belts. So I had to my spare box and managed to find some 1/72 Japanese World War II seat belt and apply it. And I got lucky because it was my only set, so it went well on this matter. And I just apply it with the tip, just a small amount of CA glue. And with that chipping on the cockpit and cockpit walls, I do believe it turned okay for such a small cockpit. I used 1,200 and 12,000 grit sand sponges to polish the surface, and then restored the lost panel lines along the way. Unfortunately, this kit won't allow me to display it with canopy opened, so it will have to be canopy closed, which is a shame, but no problem with that. It's still a KI, so it's still a Tony, but even so, it's a shame, but very good nonetheless. Believe it or not, all this process you've seen until now, I did it in 2 days, okay? 2 days when I stopped to just the paint to cure, to dry, but I did it in 2 days. The kit fitted perfectly. And a nice touch, metal gun barrels. And now let's paint this one. This paint will be a silver base color, and then we apply the decals on top. As you know, this kit, the KI, is silver underneath and then just green splinters, very fastly painted, let's call it, on top. For that, we will use first, after the primer, a black base and then metal, or in this case silver from Vallejo. Again, I am using Bart Sharp 186 airbrush for this. If you want to know the airbrushes I use, and if you want to buy an airbrush, just click on the links below. That's cool. Just click on the links below, and you will find the Bart Sharp site. And if you want to buy one, just try it, give it a try. You won't regret it. The pressure I am using is 15 to 20 psi's. On the X1 Black I am using 15 because the paint is diluted with 60% of Mr. Color Leveling Thinner and 40% of X1. Now let's mask the tail to paint it red. This tail was bright red, and to paint the anti-glare black strip on the front of the canopy. And after sealing the whole paintwork with X22, I just proceeded to do a small pin wash just to make those rivets pop up a bit. I know that probably the decals will cover that up, but if at least I can give it the impression of metal underneath, and then after seal I will give another coat of Tamiya panel line accentuator. Maybe I don't know, maybe I can give that riveting a bit of a pop-up underneath the decal. And now these decals, guys. These decals are, well, the camouflage is included. Just a single decal is the size of the wing. It has to be correctly placed on its correct wing, and replaces all the paintwork that you could have with your airbrush or a hand. And at the same time helps to camouflage the plane. It's strange for me. A lot of work, because you have to keep your hands constantly wet, soaking wet, as the carrier paper and the decal, and to use a lot of decal softener solution, and I mean a lot. But if you work very calmly and very slowly, you can obtain very good results with these decals and this method. See this decal? It's just one decal for one whole side of the plane, and the other again, just the same process. So be careful. Make sure that each decal is dried, cured, and protected if you want to before applying the other, because you are unavoidably touching it with your fingers. I mean, there will be a time when the decal is so big and so large that you will touch it, and well, you take it on your own. Maybe it can crumble, maybe not. It's a risk that you're taking. After placing some decals, I had to readjust it. As you can see here, the rising sun is being covered by the white stripe. I thought I should build this one because the decals itself are interesting. It was the most laborious process of the build, which sometimes it's not decals. This time it was. They're very big, as you can see, and it would be interesting to show the whole process, but to be honest, I would gladly try my luck with an airbrush rather than the stress caused by these decals, and if I break them, oh my god. But yeah, it turned out well. and the process is always interesting to see. That's why I started this one. From the samples that they sent me, that Man Cave Models sent me, this one was by far the most interesting. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Man Cave Models. The fact that with one buy that I did, sent me 2 kits, 1/72, being this one the first. It was very cool, 1/72. Fine molds, has tremendous quality. It is a very good company. I built a few days ago the 148 Oka, and it is fantastic. This is also very good kit. I will place the link in the description below, so you can just browse on Man Cave Models, and you can look at the very affordable offers that they have on kits. Just doing some detail painting, last minute detail painting, painting the tip of the wings with clear blue, clear red, do some last minute chipping, painting some last details, and preparing the kit for his last takes, making sure that everything is at least acceptable. As you know, I don't take my modeling to that professional level, because that is one thing I am not. I have a life besides this one, and very proud of it. This is my hobby, and video editing also, so. It relaxes me very much to do this. It helped me a few years ago, still does on my mental condition, let's call it. That's why war veterans suffering from PTSD do this, and if you want to contribute to that, go to Model for Heroes on the net, on the internet, Google it, and you will find out the great work and service they do. Making war veterans that suffer from PTSD, building models, and thus getting a better life quality, because this hobby relaxes a lot. So if you can contribute, do it. and I always hold my breath at this stage. I'd just like to take this opportunity again to say that if you like this video, please consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, okay? Consider subscribing me on Patreon. I'm there just to make my hobby a little bit sustainable. And as always, guys, keep modeling, guys. Keep modeling. Always, always with a smile. See you soon, guys.